National Democratic Party set to acclaim former First Lady Nana Konadu Rawlings as flag bearer for the upcoming December 7 polls. We will have a conversation with the party. Also, NDC running mate Professor Opoku decries the deplorable state of abandoned Asempanaye Day Senior High School and says the NDC's manifesto will be the will for the people. Member of Parliament for Nabdam has accused government of taking credit for projects he personally implemented in his constituency, and will be in the Subin constituency in the Ashanti region for today's edition of Voters' Voice. Hello, I'm Marba Kumson. Welcome to your election brief. Today we're live on your DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144, on YouTube, we're on Joy News TV, and on your digital TV we are free to air. We're also streaming live on myjoyonline.com. Stay tuned in. Thanks for your company once again. Now, the Member of Parliament for the Nabdam constituency in the Upper East region, Dr. Mark Ket Nwane, has accused Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP government of claiming the credit for projects that he has personally implemented in his constituency. According to the NDC legislator, the delivery tracker website recently launched by the government to show evidence of developmental projects across the country has listed an emergency ward at the Nangodi in the Nabdam district as a project put up by the NPP government. He says this is not true because he personally put up that emergency ward using his share of the District Assembly Common Fund. Upper East correspondent Albert Sori has more.
The Nabdam constituency branch of the National Democratic Congress held a press conference to address some issues with regard to projects within the constituency listed on the delivery tracker. Member of Parliament for Nabdam, Dr. Mark Ket Nwane, who addressed the press conference, accused the current government of doing very little for the constituency, but then trying to claim the credit for projects that were done by the NDC.
I represent the NDC party in Parliament. The little that we have done with this 200,000 Ghana cedis a year, that is given to us, is being listed not even as the achievements of the government, but the achievement of one party, leaving out whatever contribution that the laws of the country have been able to secure for we the minority. And when the Member of Parliament who represents NDC bills and also hope to use it to have him in his campaign, you are seizing the MP's project and adding it to yours on grounds that you gave the money. It's not you who gave the money. It's the law, it's the constitution that shared the money. And I'm the spending officer and I account for it. The auditors will call me if there's any problem. They will not call Donado, they will not call Bawumia.
He said some of the road projects captured in the delivery tracker do not exist because there are no roads within the Nabdam constituency bearing some of the names written on the tracker.
And look at this road that they are talking about, the Congo Soin Road. There are two ways that you can move from Congo to Soin. That's through Bolga before you get to Soin. But that road would never be called Congo Soin. And inspecting the road that is spoiled, and we expected that activity should be on it, is the Congo Akanyonga Road. But even with that, there's no activity.
The NDC in the Nabdam constituency concludes that the MPP has been dishonest and therefore they want the voters in the constituency to reject the MPP's parliamentary candidate. Albert Sori, Joy News, Nangodi.
stay on the NDC because the vice presidential candidate of that particular party, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, says it's high time the will of the people is brought to mainstream governance, hence the NDC's People's Manifesto. According to her, the times when leaders sat in Accra and drafted manifestos for the people are long gone. She made this known when she took her campaign tour to Kwesi Dukrom in the Bodi constituency of the Western North region.
Media ni se me ton ade na man ton so ba da no ba be so me so media ni se me bo tre na wo beti ma ba wo de media ni se me pam ade na man pam wo so ba da wonya bi ache enti obia ni de enti se ene Yera John Dramani Mahama o se ni manifesto na ode ba no eya People's Manifesto e kan say na ebi no mo se ye so wonu ma wo ni asan bi on ba kan ti o mu ko bisa e form for no e form for ne hefo ene me ne wo ene ye wo man num na wa na se wo form ti o de wonni wadwan ba kire enti e ba mo na so ya manifesto ba ba mo se mun sa no fa efia ye ho enti so ka so ye 10 billion dollar push no a onimbia oka o ye na so ye mabunu na ne wo mutiti fie na wo ejuma egugu no munya bebi mfa no wo no di kan wo enti o ka so ba be technical vocational training na on kan kwa ye wo so no enu nti na polytechnic o tre mu amaye technical university adenti no ye de sa no na dia o no so say ye mason say ye carpentry say ye dia ben onu so betimi esuam ama na kwa eni ese no ma no fa ye kra no ye so ye dia no na enu eche na da ben na e ba bedu eche say wo so want tete wo mani ye e ma o ma anye enu ma obi so baba beto wo de da wo koto obi de na wo sika na be de ne mu ai de ama enti so ka so be push vocational technical apprenticeship programs a o di bia o kan esa ye shase and now we see obi so no be national qualifications framework now so started that by any year dey to one sana ye ko e say na she say dano amansa na efi enti ye ba bia ya ba beto aso apprenticeship ni be ni enya say wo de na koja kwa only master craftsman no cry say ni nya nkita ho no me so hu kwan a abofo ya wa be obe kireche na kakra ekusi so bebu enti so kan sa no na school sa ye wie e say wie dama de yan fato wo de yan fa school ba kwa yesi no sabe obashiashu ahia no eye adwuma na enye adwuma de ye de cement ni ahia begu fom ya se fensuo fra na fa fra no enye adwuma de odi begu wheelbarrow mu akokugu foundation na enye adwuma de obechicha blocks no de obechicha blocks no de obaya plastering no.
So that's Professor Opoku-Agyeman, and she was addressing the chiefs and people of that area. And she also said the NDC's yet to be launched manifesto is a document that will address the felt needs of the people towards national development. She pointed out that the big push agenda in the manifesto, for example, when implemented, will ensure job creation for many people, adding that the youth will be given hands-on skills and projects training started by the NDC government, which have been abandoned by the current government. And she says these abandoned projects will be completed when the NDC is re-elected. Now, if the NDC is re-elected, pardon me. Now, Professor Opoku-Agyeman specifically called on women to rally behind the John and Jane ticket, especially as issues affecting women and children are on the top of the NDC's agenda. She also described the high level of abandoned projects across the country as a financial loss to the state. She made the observation while interacting with journalists when she made a stopover at the abandoned Day Senior High School project site at Asampaneye of the Dwaboso constituency.
Asampaneye, and just beside me is an abandoned senior secondary school, one of the E blocks. And you can tell from even the trees that have had the space to grow so tall that the project has been abandoned for a while. We have seen gravels overgrown by weeds and shrubs iron rods that have disappeared, so many things that should have gone into this project to make it beneficial to many people. Now here we are. If we have to return to this project, definitely we have to do re-evaluation, we have to spend more money, and all of this cannot be very, very helpful to us as a nation. So the whole habit of abandoning projects that have started and started well, it's not as if we just cut the sword and abandoned it. We have started, the foundations are done, the columns are being raised. You can all see the images beside me and behind me. And so, I mean, what does one say to this? If there's no financial loss, what is it? I think this is unacceptable. Thank you very much.
On the NDC, flag bearer of the party, former President John Dramani Mahama has described the implementation of the new patriotic party's One Village, One Dam program as a monumental waste of the taxpayers' money. He said most of the dugouts constructed contain no water and others have very little consumables by a few cattle. And we'll be bringing you more of that in our subsequent bulletins. Now, to Vice President Dr. Baumia now, and he's hinted that the current government intends to upgrade the Animal Health and Production College at the Pont Tamale in the Savelugu district of the Northern Region into a University of Agriculture. According to him, this would ensure that the study of agriculture, which is the mainstay of residents of the area, is giving a boost, as this will build the capacity of persons interested in the field of study who will in turn impart the knowledge directly onto the farmers. Speaking to Yona Yakubu Abdullahi Andani at his palace in Savelugu, the Vice President underscored the significance of agriculture in the country, noting that the upgrading of the institution, which is one of the oldest in the region, would make a significant impact in the lives of many. You're still here on Election Brief with me, Araba Kumson. Now let's go to the Ashanti region, where traders in the Kumasi Central Market say free SHS will be prioritized in their decisions on December 7. The traders at the yam section of the market will not rule out interventions of government's agriculture policies, which they say have positively affected their business. Other incentives like the NBSSI loans and others, which have helped in the recovery of their businesses, are among other factors. Voters' Voice today is from the Subin Constituency in the Ashanti region.
Mama di obaye no ono asia so obaye no wonyi na di me obie hu na gufa do baye no waye no ma mebre amaye waye no ma mebre ene no mabu okwani anim wade na di a kire ti na me pe na gufa do na jo mama de na bia o se waja no ayi ono waja no ho no o mama de na ntwa na gufa do na gufa do yi na de amra do
Katina na vania kwa na vota hapa na so na tutu wolba o wolwa de bui o do wolwa ne pampia o do wa de ba don pamp zera alormus na vania sakwa na da pana na makala na
Meti way me ka chire way 10 ones papa as me chia bribe me san chia cement 10 ewa West Lagos afi me ka chire me nana wo go school men chia hwe baba wa ya kasi say ya na shi wo mo na wa na tan series so ba ya wa na tan series
Nana ba ko ni babu chowo mama ka chira yese wo ye bibia wa santima wo de godu kra teta ha ni efe sese na manie ye jira santima mu ni e kasai ye ni bibia ye sana lo ye san ko to de go for tnase ni abre ye mako school free ye da kania mu free ye bunsio free mama wa manie ko tnase aye yie na na sa uwia Baumia papa bi Baumia my president ma the whole Ghana ye hiano na so entini say ede komo baye ade komo baye to body
200 and 500. And okuta 2 cities unya body unya bayire. Nana papa nyamistra so odu abedumu ye. Afi samre ubesa di kunuma Yesu dimu. Amen.
Nana betu ma fa me say abala ba buso nana abonu. Nyami ba me na buso. Amra nwanwa wo Yesu di wate. Amen. Fafa ya wo ya mayan. Eba mu anyina che. Wo ba dandam sa ma wa ga sa tiri na. Ba ya yi. Ado, wulu nyansa ni ba. Why? We nyansa ni ba. Amen. Eba show. Me de te me tuama na ado no. Na ado ba ni ma wa ya ma. Me mienu be wi school. Eti me so dia me na. Me so matsuama no. Me mani nyina be sa atsuama. Eti wa ba me so ya me de.
Nana kura de wa home. Obi antu.
So you heard the voices of some voters in the Subin constituency in the Ashanti region. I have in the studio with me, head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, to do some analysis on this particular constituency. So you heard the woman there. Clearly, Subin is an MPP stronghold. So you would obviously expect that a lot of support would be going for the governing party. But tell us, educate us on the voting pattern in the constituency. I mean,
so it's not surprising that a overwhelming majority of the sounds you heard, you struggle to find views, especially if you go to the marketplaces, to find voices that will articulate the support for the NDC in Subin. The thing about Subin is where the Kumasi's central business, it hosts Kumasi's central business district. And so that's where everything happens in terms of business in Kumasi. The market, we have all those big businesses all located. So it's a nerve center. So everybody else in the periphery of the Ashanti region sort of converge in Subin. So it's a very important constituency for the NPP in the area. And it is the reason why, the other thing about the demographic of Subin that makes it such an overwhelming area for the NPP is that it is one of those constituencies and districts where you have indigenous Ashanti populations. Ashanti region is a very interesting sort of demographic region because a lot of people who migrate from the north tend and who feel Accra is too far off, when they get to Kumasi, they simply settle. Okay. And that is why Osawase became such a very strong settler community, mostly from occupied by people from the north. And that is why NDC wins Asawase, mainly because of the settlers coming from the north who want to get to Accra, but of course Kumasi is the next best thing, so they settle. But Subin largely is mainly for indigenes of Kumasi, so they are pure Ashantis, and so they vote overwhelmingly for the MPP. Okay. There is one community in Subin that is a settler community. It's called Fanti Newtown. Okay. So if you go to Fanti Newtown, if you look at the Fanti Newtown performance in terms of the results, in terms of every elections, that is the area where the NDC does slightly better than most areas. But historically, MPP...
Fanti Newtown, are we to assume that these are people who, migrated from the central region to the Ashanti region?
Yeah, I mean, possibly, yeah. I mean, as the name implies. I mean, so you find people who have the your tongue in that place. And so the NDC does well in that particular part of Subin. But largely, this is overwhelmingly, the NPP has never won that seat with less than 70% of the votes. So it's always 70 and above when they win it. They win it massively. The incumbent is the Deputy Works and Housing Minister, Eugene Nchi. The thing about him was, in 2016, he's the second best performing NPP candidate for the area. Okay, he had 77%. The best before him had 78 in 2000. I mean, we know what happened in 2000. It was a massive wave of change. Right. And so for the MPP, remember, there was a lot of controversy leading into the primary itself.
Exactly, I was coming to that. I mean, in the run-up to the primaries, there was a lot of controversy, even surrounding the incumbent himself. So is that going to affect their chances going into the election?
The matter is still in court. Mr. J.B. Dankwa, who, of course, his supporters took the matter to court, is still, of course, challenging the outcome. Why? Because there was a court injunction that meant that the primary should not have gone ahead. But somehow on election day, the EC officials themselves didn't show up because they'd been served with the injunction. Right. But the executive managed to get the primary underway. And as you can imagine, Eugene won the elections. Now there's a contempt case where Eugene Aintree himself, the Ashanti Regional Chairman, and other executives have been cited. The court has been looking for them. The Baileys have been looking for them to serve it on them for a while. And so it's all raging on. I mean, but as politics, the reason is simple. If you win Subin, if you win the primary, you just throw your hands and just relax and wait to win elections. Because you're going to win it. That is why it's so important for the MPP and the candidate. But again, it makes sense if you look at the numbers. Eugene's number, because see, you're going to win it. But how many more votes can you bring to add to Nana Addo's national take? Right. Okay, that is what you're looking at. And so if we brought in more than 78%, it makes sense to keep him. Plus, he's a deputy minister also. You know the argument that they made, because he's deputy minister, some of these people, you compare their performance, it's best to keep him, which is really what had docked them in the election. As to whether it will affect them, if Mr. Boache, J.B. Dankwa, decides to go independent, absolutely is going to be a major issue. The lesson is from what we learned from the current Deputy Speaker of Parliament, who one time went independent and managed to win an election, and then later on, when he went to Parliament, crosses over to join the MPP back. Well,
we wait to see what happens. Thank you very much. Evans Mensah is head of our political desk here at Joy News. Now, the National Democratic Party is set to acclaim former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings as flag bearer for the upcoming December 7 polls. This will be the second time Mrs. Rawlings would be running as a presidential candidate if endorsed at the party's Congress scheduled to take place tomorrow. Well, General Secretary of the party, Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong, joins us via Zoom. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Frimpong. I understand he's joining us via phone. Okay, so we understand the program is in two parts, today and tomorrow. So what's happening today and what's happening tomorrow?
Yeah, thank you very much. Today, we are receiving the delegates from the various regions, five from each of the regions, 16 regions. We're going to have an in-house plenary session from about 3 o'clock to look at least certain decisions and pass resolutions against tomorrow on the election of national officers as well as the flag bearer.
And what about tomorrow? What should we expect tomorrow? That's the main event, isn't it?
Yes. The main event takes place tomorrow with the Electoral Commission coming to officially conduct the acclamation of national officers as well as the flag bearer.
The big question many will ask is your flag bearer, Mrs. Rawlings, who you are due to acclaim, capable of delivering victory for the party in the upcoming polls?
Once again, it's not clear. Hello?
Your flag bearer is capable of delivering victory for your party in the December polls, giving her performance in the past.
Why not? Nobody goes into a contest with pessimism. We are very optimistic. We've played our role as a political party in terms of getting our role in the national discourse, which is very, very important. Getting our following, understand very well governance issues, as well as we also helping to shape opinions on issues. So all this combined, we've already stirred up our following in the communities and the regions, and that is why, because of COVID-19 restrictions, we are getting this representation from the regions to come and represent the rank and file, in the districts and the constituencies. So at the end of the day, we see how best we advance our campaign towards the 2020 election.
Very well. Thank you so much. Alhaji Frimpong is General Secretary of the NDP, and as you heard him there, tomorrow they are claiming the flag bearer of the party, Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings. We'll bring you details. Stay tuned to your election headquarters here on your Joy News channel. Now, it's a political pundits call the silly season, and throughout this week we've seen adverts from the governing MPP as well as the opposition NDC responding to those adverts. As you know, the political parties deploy all sorts of means to win the hearts and minds of people, and they resort to adverts as well to do that. So earlier this week, the MPP put out an advert, and it focused on former President John Mahama and why Ghanaians should not be voting for him, but rather the MPP. And all I can say is expect more of these in the coming days, with 94 days to the election. And that's how we wrap up Election Brief for this week. Thank you for staying with us throughout the week. I'm Araba Kumson. Sports Today is up next.